The following is a production of White Lightning Entertainment. This is Burning Rubber Radio.
Drivers, please start your engines.
3 wide for third.
Yes, sir. Here comes William Byron on that inside. They squeeze him. Truex almost wrecked. Blading in the wall. They're wrecking, guys.
And they pile up accordion style behind them. Caution wave. I think this last lap is a lap Brad Keselowski's been waiting 3 years to run. 3 years of trying. Since Talladega, April 21, Brad Keselowski wins the Goodyear 400.
Appreciate it. Hell of an effort today. A lot of drama at the end. Way to get through it, TJ. Appreciate your help. Love to have an American flag down there if you got one.
Burning Rubber Radio is brought to you by Drive Refine. It's more than driver coaching. It's Drive Refine. Visit driverefine.com to get signed up today. Now from the White Lightning Entertainment Studios in Statesville, North Carolina, here's your host, Andy DeLay.
Well, it's not Andrew DeLay. It's producer Wayne, the NASCAR chef John Dix, and well, I'll tell you what, listening to those highlights there, John, the motorsports enthusiast was spot on once again this week in calling his pick for Darlington and Throwback Weekend. He called it last week and said that RFK and Brad K were going to get the dub, and they sure did.
You're right, Wayne. He picked it good. You know, it was a good race. It was a good weekend. I love Throwback Weekend, and, you know, we have a guest coming up that actually was in it, and I'm looking forward to that too, buddy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun hearing from our guest this week. Coming up, Mr. Chad Finchum. Chad, as you mentioned, was in the Xfinity Series race this past weekend at Darlington and Throwback Weekend, and well, we're going to talk a little bit about everything. We're going to talk about his plans coming up because there's talk that he might be in a couple more races this year.
Yep.
So we'll just hope and wait and see what happens with Chad on that for sure as we get into that interview later on. Of course, we got news of the week coming up here, and we're going to dig more into Brad K's win from this past weekend at Darlington, and a bunch of other news that broke as well over the last couple of days. And also coming up, again, another round of the motorsports enthusiast, John DeRudris, and the final lap. I love saying it like that, man. Like, it's just it makes it feel like it's cool, like the final lap.
Well, it is cool.
Yeah, it really is. It is. And John DeRudris, a really good guy too, by the way, folks. If you don't follow him, make sure you go follow at the Motorsports Enthusiast on TikTok, and I believe he's there on Instagram too, if I remember him telling us right from a few weeks ago.
And I tell you, Wayne, if we can get Andy back, I think he's out there chasing that duck somewhere. I don't know where he's at.
He's out doing something. Actually, no, he's not out chasing the duck this week, folks. So with our buddy Andy, as everybody knows, you know, one of the prime staples of the show here, Andy is out today taking a test to get a new rank in the police department that he works in today, or this week. So, you know, we want to send all of our love and well wishes out to him. Hopefully he passes the test, and eventually we'll have to start calling him Sergeant DeLay.
Well, I got confidence in him, buddy. He'll do good. But anyway, so.
Yeah, but either which way, bunch of stuff to get to this week here. Also a recipe from the NASCAR chef coming up here in just a little while as well too. And not to mention this week's show brought to you by the folks over at MyPillow. Check out mypillow.com/BRR and use the promo code BRR at checkout for free shipping on your entire order. And again, that is mypillow.com/BRR and use the promo code BRR at checkout for free shipping on your entire order. Also, the folks over at iRacing, visit iRacing.com. And again, folks, the world's premier online motorsport simulation, iRacing.com, iRacing.com, iRacing.com. And I'm in a good mood today. Can't you tell, John?
And don't forget.
Who?
Don't
forget who?
Don't forget Joey.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about the Drive Refine. Visit driverefine.com as well and get signed up. Yeah, our buddy Joey Coulter and Austin Terrio. And again, folks, the beautiful part to Drive Refine, it's not driver coaching. It's Drive Refine. And with
Absolutely.
that, it helps you have better communication with your crew chief, whether you raced in the real world or in the simulation world. DriveRefine.com is the place to go for that. On that note here, folks, we're going to step aside and we're going to take that first foreign fuel. And when we come back, we've got a whole bunch of news to talk about, including Brad K's win this weekend at Darlington. And word on the street has it is Chris Buescher got into a fight this weekend, too. We're going to be talking about that when we come back.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver. And we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
What can we learn from a child?
That spreading joy
is more important than a trophy.
That when we help others,
we heal ourselves.
That with a little love,
we can make the biggest impact.
At Speedway Children's Charities,
our mission
is simple.
Help every child we can.
Because all children deserve joy.
And hope.
And love.
And if one child is still in need,
then there's still work to do.
Because their future
is our future.
And there's still so much they can teach us.
Burning Rubber is social. Follow us on X at twitter.com/BRR_radio. Now back to more Burning Rubber.
And we're back. It's Burning Rubber. Producer Wayne, the NASCAR chef John Dix. And I'll tell you what, John, every time I hear that sweetheart whistle from X, it's like, I have to wonder sometimes. But either which way here, folks, we are back on the show this week, and Gotta jump straight on into news of the week here. And 110 races, John, was the number that it took 3 years plus for Brad Keselowski to get another win in the NASCAR Cup Series. And it was a weird, I'll tell you what, everything I heard in the race this past weekend when I was sitting there listening to it, not going to lie when I say that it had some pretty peak moments, but then again, there was a bit of stubbornness and patience in there too from a lot of drivers.
Yeah, well, that's how you got to run Darlington, you know. I mean, you're racing the track more than you're racing everybody else, but our hat's off to Brad. You know, Brad's had a tough last couple of years. He's been trying to put a team together, a brand new team, be an owner, get everybody else going, and finally did it for himself, and I'm happy for him.
Well, and the good part about him getting this win, too, is that, you know, as a co-owner in RFK Racing, you know, this helps cement things not only for him, but for the team as well.
Absolutely.
So that at that point in time, they look at that and they're like, owner, winner, champion. So at that point, anybody who comes into the team now and folks who are already there, you know, Chris Buescher, who is a multi-time winner in his own right, especially last season. And, you know, you've got a champion winning team here that knows no bounds. And, you know, even folks like Coach DeLoria can speak to that too, because, you know, that's where a coach was for so many years as a pit coach.
Yep. You're right. And speaking of Chris, our buddy Christopher, he almost got in a fight. And I'm gonna tell you what, Chris is a big boy. I wouldn't be picking on him.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's amongst two friends of the show too, and Tyler Reddick and Chris Buescher. You know, they had a little bit of a dust up after the Darlington race, the Goodyear 400 this past weekend, and he had just pulled off a daring 3-wide pass underneath teammate Brad Kay and 2311's Tyler Reddick with 29 to go. While Buescher had checked out in front, Reddick roped in the number 17 shortly after. And then with 10 laps to go, Reddick saw his opportunity and dove low. So, he probably went a little lower than he should have on Buescher into turn 3. However, the number 45 did slap the driver's side door of Buescher's car and promptly pinning Buescher into the outside retaining wall. The video that we saw with NASCAR afterwards, folks, and I'm going to be honest with you, Buescher was not happy about that in the slightest. I wouldn't be either. And video,
well, it didn't look like much of a discussion other than Tyler was saying, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir." That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
You know, we all know Chris is a big boy and and very patient young man. And a good racer, but I think it was more of a yes, sir, I'm sorry, sir.
But, John, you were talking about it there just now where it's like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But the funny thing is we've got the video, that shows where Chris was climbing out of the car yesterday, and we're going to show it to you right now. We're going to let you guys be the judge of what happened here yesterday. So do be looking at this and let us know what you guys think. And for those listening on audio, by the way, Buescher is walking over towards...
Hey! I didn't race the queen! I know, I f***ed up! I'm sorry! Hey! I really... We have raced each other clean. I know, what was that about? As soon as I knew it wasn't going to work, I tried to back out, and I got it. Like, the last thing I want to do is wreck your car.
Chris is
I
not
can care less
happy.
about mine. I'm sorry. I f***ed up.
And Reddick's trying to talk his way out of it, but Tyler, that ain't going to work.
We don't have that sticker on our door right
With
now.
this good old Texas boy here. He ain't gonna
Need
put
to be
up with
better.
that.
I don't have that sticker on my door. This means more.
Maybe that mustache got in his way. He couldn't see how to drive.
We've raced each other just fine for so long. I know. Sorry, dude. Give him room.
And so, I'm not gonna lie when I say looking at that video though, at least he was man enough to admit though, like, hey, I effed up. And that's kudos.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That is kudos to Tyler Reddick, and even he was. And it's obvious too, folks. And for those that were listening on the radio and everything like that, pretty much what had happened here. Like we had described, is that Reddick came down a little lower than he should have on Chris during the race with about 10 to go and put Chris into the wall. And we saw the video there where he's walking towards Tyler's car, and even Tyler was like, "Look, dude, I effed up. When I tried to get out of it, when I saw it wasn't going to work, I tried to get out of it. It didn't work like I wanted it to." And you could hear Chris, audibly upset too, because we're already almost halfway through the season, and Chris does not yet have a win, much like Tyler does. And Tyler's got the sticker on his car to prove that he's got a W this year. Now, right. I will add in the point here is that one thing with Chris is that all three of his wins last year actually came later in the season anyway.
Right, about this time of the year, yeah.
Right. So, again, not taking anything away from the situation involving Tyler and Chris this past weekend at Darlington, but the fact of the matter is it's like, hey, he owned up to it. Maybe calm down just a little bit. Don't rush to judgment, because at that point, people do make mistakes, and if they're willing to own up to them like Tyler did, then at that point, move on, head on to next week. You got North Wilkesboro, you got the All-Star race coming up, and so that's something that we've got to be prepared for.
Right, and that second place that Chris just had probably had a little something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean I'm pretty sure that did not help things either. So
right.
But on to one last bit of news of the week here on this side of things, real quick, before we get ready to take our next foreign fuel here. We got to talk about the XFINITY series, John, and Justin Allgaier. 14 years and counting, Justin Allgaier has been a mainstay in the XFINITY series. And while a championship on NASCAR's junior circuit has eluded him, he continues to make a lasting mark on the series and gets a win this past weekend at Throwback Weekend. Right.
And let's not forget our boy Ross Chastain won the truck race.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good for Ross, yeah.
Yep. So Ross gets himself a win in the truck series. Justin gets himself a win here in the Xfinity series. And I'll bring something up real quick too here. And that being, one Hailie Deegan. I saw it this past weekend in the Xfinity race. Now, granted, the track was very, very, very green because of the severe weather that had moved through the Carolinas this past week. And not to mention the tornadoes that actually came down here, too. That were inside of that storm as well. And I remember seeing a post on X from our buddy Dave Moody over at the Motor Racing Network where it was pretty much just flooded at Darlington this weekend. So any rubber that was ever on that track prior to anybody taking the track on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all of that was wiped off. So the track was completely green.
Yep.
And now we know that Hailie Deegan has had some issues as far as, racecraft and other things like that this season and in previous seasons. And this season being her first full-time foray in the Xfinity series. But from what I could tell, it looked like she cut a tire down coming out of 3 and 4. And in the process, whether somebody doored her a little bit or whatever the case might have been, I hear all these people, they're complaining. They're like, oh, she can't drive. Get her off the track. Other people would be better in that ride. Blah, 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 blah. She's just doing it for Facebook and YouTube. The fact is that she's actually out here trying to race full-time should speak for itself. She's actually putting in an effort that most people don't put into it. Her, Natalie Decker, Tony Breidinger, ladies like that are out here busting their asses on a week-to-week basis, trying to get in these cars and kind of change the dynamic of motorsports as a whole. I applaud women like that for doing what they're doing.
Right.
And that goes back, even 20, 30 years ago to the likes of Sherry Muldowney and, other drivers that have and other women drivers that have gotten into these race cars. I applaud the hell out of them for making an effort like that. So to the good old boys, now I'm a good old boy myself. I come from the South. I will tell you right now, to the good old boys that are like, oh, those women don't belong in the race cars. Get them out of there, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you this right now, and I'm going to be completely honest when I say this, and I really don't care if you turn us off for me saying it. Shut the fuck up, sit down, and enjoy the race.
Right. And I tell you what, my personal friend, Patty Moise, I guarantee you she'll go out there and kick your butt. But, Wayne, getting back to that race, I believe it was a tire going down, because if you've never been to Darlington, guys, you've got to go to that racetrack. The racing groove is
It's rough.
10 times smaller than it looks on TV. And I'm going to tell you, it blew me away the first time I went, how fast they're going around that racetrack, how close they are.
Oh, yeah.
And I guarantee you guys, when they're in the turns, they're sliding sideways more than it looks on TV. So you've got to put that on your bucket list and go to Darlington.
Well, and the biggest thing too is it's an egg-shaped oval, so it's so unique for a NASCAR track. And I remember people telling us many times before that track is very rough. It's like North Wilkesboro. It is very rough. So and Indy being the same way. Indy's like a cheese grater. So.
Back in the day, Wayne, I haven't heard them talk about it on this broadcast anymore, on the TV broadcast, but the asphalt is made from the sand that's local. And Darlington is really close to the coast.
Yep.
And there's a lot of shells in that sand. And that's one of the things that I've been told and heard back in the day that made it so abrasive, the asphalt there.
Yep, you're 100% right. And but with that said here, folks, we've got to step aside. We've got to take that next foreign fuel, though. When we come back, we're going to be sitting down with our guest of the week, Chad Finchum. And I'm looking forward to this one, John.
Yep.
Going to be a good one. Chad Finchum when we come back.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
What can we learn from a child?
That spreading joy
is more important than a trophy.
that when we help others,
We heal ourselves.
That with a little love,
We can make the biggest impact.
At Speedway Children's Charities,
our mission
Is simple.
help every child we can.
because all children deserve joy.
And hope.
And love.
And if one child is still in need,
Then there's still work to do.
because their future
Is our future.
and there's still so much they can teach us.
Visit us online at burningrubberradio.com for recipes from the NASCAR chef, John Dix, and more great content.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Now back to more Burning Rubber Radio.
And we are back on Burning Rubber. It's producer Wayne, the NASCAR chef, John Dix. And John, I swear, man, it seems like every time Andy is out of the studio, I drop an extra 10 pounds. It's almost like the stress weight's going away.
Well, I tell you, Wayne, I got a recipe later on today that is going to put a few pounds back on you. But
oh man, I always love hearing that, folks, and we talk about it in every single segment how the NASCAR chef's got something good cooking this weekend. And by the way, folks, his new recipe is going to be making waves over on TikTok and Facebook Reels later this week. We've got a new look and feel for them, so we're going to be getting that going here and doing things up the right way. But we got to get on over here to our featured guest of the week here. And this gentleman was just recently in the Xfinity Series race this past weekend at Darlington Raceway down in Darlington, South Carolina. It's none other than an old friend of the family here, and Chad Finchum. Chad, welcome back, brother.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing this morning? Thanks for having me on.
Man, we are doing fantastic. So a top 30 finish this past weekend here at Darlington. I believe it was 26th overall. You were telling us off the air here. How was it running in throwback weekend here?
Man, I don't ever want to miss a throwback weekend. That's one of my favorite races of the year. It's one that when the schedule gets released, I always circle it in a different color so that we can make sure we put a deal together for it. Obviously, I've done a lot of interviews and, been on here before and spoke with you all. Bristol Motor Speedway, one of my favorite races of the year as well. There's a lot of them. I love short track racing. I like Darlington, old wore out surface. And it's just, it's extra special when you have the throwback cars. And this past weekend, we did the throwback to Kevin Harvick's 2001 scheme there after he took over for Earnhardt. So I was always a really big Earnhardt fan growing up, and then to kind of represent those colors there of Harvick was pretty special.
So you went back and rocked the old Goodwrench colors then.
Yep,
I did, and it was pretty cool. I was trying to see if I could get Harvick to come down if he had some spare time and do a picture with us there on pit road, and unfortunately he couldn't. But man, that would have been so cool if he could have done that.
Gotta love those TV requirements. John, go ahead.
That car looked good, Chad. I tell you, I saw it. I was actually at that race when Kevin won at Atlanta, and that car looked really good. Yep.
Oh man, that would have been so cool. I'll never forget it, man. Just the racing and being able to race that throwback car. That was the sponsor that was on our hood, Garrison Homes. They've been a long time partner of ours, and the owner of that company, his name is Jeff. He's a big Harvick fan, always has been. And when we started putting some initial thought into this, that was one of our definite go-tos was, well, what do you think about a Harvick throwback? And there was a couple that come to mind, and but it's hard to beat that 01 paint scheme that he ran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked good, brother.
I appreciate it.
Most definitely. And then, so, and I'm going to throw a little speculation out here. I know I'm doubtful that the race itself will ever change, but what would you think, Chad, if Throwback Weekend randomly one year went to North Wilkesboro?
I think that would be cool. Obviously you want to keep it, historical, right? So Darlington, and me and a bunch of the drivers was talking about this weekend, especially with the rain delay that we had there on Friday. That's one of the tracks I hope they don't touch. I'm okay with some of the repaves and whatnot throughout the years. But Darlington's one of those tracks, and I think the fans would agree. I think the racing's good. I like the wore-out surface, and it is just an absolute awesome racetrack. I hope that's one that they don't end up touching and just kind of letting it ride through the years and just keep the maintenance up on it. But I think,
they call her too tough to tame for a reason.
Hey, you don't leave there without a stripe. we definitely got ours.
Well, and that's the thing though. Like when you go to Darlington, if you don't get the infamous Darlington stripe on your car, you've done something wrong.
Yeah, you probably weren't pushing it quite as hard as you needed to if you wasn't getting the stripe. And unfortunately, mine come from turns 3 and 4 this year. They kind of bounce around. Sometimes it's 1 and 2, sometimes it's 3 and 4. This year was 3 and 4. We were on an old set of tires and just trying to rip the top, and I just overstepped a couple times.
You put a little too much pedal on the going in, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have to. I mean, it's Darlington. I mean, you got to have a little fun with it, but
exactly.
But either which way, it's one of those things where you got to have a little fun with it. It's Darlington, but so as far as like what's next for Chad Finchum here, I think you were telling us a little bit too that there's a possibility we might see you in New Hampshire as well as maybe Nashville.
Maybe. A little bit of speculation around those two races right now. Over the last few seasons, it's just been a part-time schedule. Even 1 year there, I think I only ran like 3 times. So definitely trying to figure out a way to get back into running more consistent and racing. More often than not. Would love to work my way back into a full-time schedule if even if that's something that could open up down the road. But this past weekend at Darlington was my first race with Joey Gase Motorsports. Joey was my former teammate of mine when back in 2019 when I was full-time. We were both we were teammates for MBM Motorsports, and then since then Joey's went on to open up his own XFINITY team and compete, and he called me up to drive. We put a deal together, so there might be something there. I know everything went smoothly. The team was happy with me, and I was happy with them. So hopefully we can kind of continue something. Obviously at the end of last season, I made a little transition and ran for Bobby Daughter at SS Greenlight in that 08 car, and so So I think there's definitely some opportunities as the season kind of opens up and we get through more of the summer races. I think there's an opportunity to climb in some cars. So we're just going to see, what comes my way and what we're able to do. Obviously, it's no stranger that sponsorships determine almost the outcome of everything, whether you drive or you don't drive these days. And so that's the challenging part that we all have to kind of overcome. But there's definitely some availability and just trying to see what we can put together. But there is a lot of speculation kind of roaming around that New Hampshire and definitely the home races there. Nashville and Bristol is always a heavy hitter for us.
Most definitely. Well, something to consider too, and I saw this last week when we were discussing news of the week and all that other fun stuff here, is that Rhett Jones Racing is launching an Xfinity deal, mostly with Noah Gragson. But you know what? Maybe consider reaching out to them for some Xfinity rides too for the later on in the year too. They might be able to hook you up. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, every team is trying to open a door and just see if you can get an opportunity. It's really cool to it was really cool for me this weekend to drive for Joey, being that we were former teammates, because it kind of gives you that moment where you sit back and you say, this is how things come full circle. And it was really neat to be able to do that. And I think that kind of goes the same way with a lot of other teams. You meet them, maybe a few years prior or a few months prior, and then somehow things have their way of working themselves out to where you're driving for them later in the season. So definitely always keeping an eye out for opportunities to try and jump on.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, buddy, with that all said here, again, knowing that you got some stuff in the works coming up here in New Hampshire, Nashville, who knows what the future may hold, but we wish you all the best for sure. And but you know what? Before we wrap it up here, we get it from you every single time. We can I'd be remiss. I don't know about John, but I'd be remiss if we didn't get the tradition from you and get a big old burning rubber baby at the top of your lungs there, Chad.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much for everything. Be on the lookout. I'll try and get all the social medias updated throughout the next few weeks as to what's developing and who we're driving for and what races we'll have coming up. But in the meantime, I hope everybody stays well, has a good time. Hope everybody had a great Mother's Day weekend. And to end it, I hope everybody goes out with some burning rubber, baby.
All right. And then real quickly, last minute chat here. What are the socials for folks in case they want to stay up to date?
So we've got Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all just at Chad Finchum. Then the website is chadfinchum.com.
Beautiful. Again, folks, follow him everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, X at Chad Finchum, and it's Finchum. So fin like shark fin, chum like the chum you would put on a fishing line. And with that, I know that's a horrible comparison, Chad. Don't hurt me.
I've heard much worse. I've even described much worse.
Oh, God. Well, we'll have to talk about that one off the air. But with that said here, folks, we're going to step aside. We're going to take our next foreign fuel. And when we come back, that grill's fired up, baby. The NASCAR chef's in the house when we come back.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
What can we learn from a child?
That spreading joy
is more important than a trophy.
That when we help others,
we heal ourselves.
That with a little love,
we can make the biggest impact.
At Speedway Children's Charities,
our mission
is simple.
Help every child we can.
because all children deserve joy
and hope
and love.
And if one child is still in need,
then there's still work to do.
Because their future
is our future.
And there's still so much they can teach us.
The grill is fired up, and the chef has something good cooking.
Oh, you're cooking, Frankie!
It's the NASCAR chef, John Dix, and more Burning Rubber.
And we're back. It's Burning Rubber. Now with producer Wayne and the NASCAR chef, John Dix. And you know what was funny, John? When you weren't here last week, I damn near accidentally called Andy you. I don't know how I managed to do it, but I did it. And
brother.
Yeah, oh brother indeed. And but I'll tell you what, speaking of being kind of like speaking of being a little crackpot here and having a little fun here, John, you tried to get me with the recipe this week, and I didn't look at it until you said something, and I'm thinking you meant crockpot, but maybe you actually meant crackpot. Let's what do you got for us this week, brother?
Well, guys, what Wayne's talking about is when I sent him the email of the recipe, instead of putting crockpot cheeseburger, I put crackpot, and none of us noticed it till a few minutes ago. So we're all a bunch of crackpots. But anyways, guys, for everybody who loves cheeseburger but don't have the access to a grill or not good on grills, you can actually make a crockpot cheeseburger. We're going to start with 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 teaspoon of olive oil, 1 onion, dice it up, 2 cloves of garlic minced, seasoning to taste, whether you want salt and pepper or garlic salt or seasoned salt, whatever you like. Use whatever you like. 8 ounces of Velveeta cheese, cube it up. 2 tablespoons of ketchup and mustard. You want some buns for serving and any other topping that you'd like to put on there of your choice. Okay, guys, in a heated skillet with the olive oil, you want to cook the ground beef and the onion until all the pink is gone, and then drain off any excess fat. Transfer the beef mixture to your crock pot, not crackpot, but crock pot. Season it with the taste, and then stir in your cheese cubes, your ketchup, and your mustard, and stir it well so it mixes really good. Now cook it on low for about 3 to 4 hours, but don't forget to stir it occasionally, or your cheese will get kind of burned and get real stickety in there, if that's a word. and then once it's done, you want to scoop the cooked cheeseburger mix into the buns and top it with your sliced cheese or any other kind of thing, lettuce, tomato, whatever you want on there. And guys, this is a lot of fun. It's very delicious. It's a cheeseburger made in crockpot, and guys, it is really good.
Oh man, yeah, that is oof. That sounds so good. That sounds so good. All right, so we got the. You know what? I'm gonna make the executive decision here. We're gonna call it the crockpot cheeseburger.
There you go. I like that, Wayne. And guys, don't forget to give me a shout out. You can email me at john@brrtv.net. That is john@brrtv.net. And send me your recipes, send me your remarks, send me some recipes, guys, and we'll give you some shout outs on the show.
Yep, we most certainly will. And again, that is john@brrtv.net. john@brrtv.net. And here we go, folks. We're going to take one last good look at the crockpot cheeseburgers. Oh, but you know what? I can't help myself here right now, but I had to. We got to laugh at that, right? We got to laugh at that. The crockpot cheeseburgers.
We're all a bunch of crackpots anyway, so it fits in well.
Yeah, we are.
Wayne.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we actually we realistically are. And but with that said, here, folks, we're going to step aside. We're going to take the final four and fuel of the show again. Enjoy these crockpot cheeseburgers on the screen right now. And folks that are listening on the radio, head over to our YouTube or Rumble channels. Search for Burning Rubber Radio on Rumble and youtube.com/Burning Rubber Radio. It'll also be on TikTok later on this week as well, too. And but again, we're going to step aside. We're going to take that final four and fuel. And when we come back, We'll get some final news of the week for everybody here, and
picks.
Oof, yeah, we got picks coming up for the All-Star race this weekend, and I got a feeling there's also a little bit of money involved for Joseph Newgarden coming up here in a little bit too, John. We're going to talk all about it when we get back.
All right.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your My Pillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
mypillow.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver. And we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
What can we learn from a child?
That spreading joy
is more important than a trophy.
That when we help others,
we heal ourselves.
That with a little love,
We can make the biggest impact.
At Speedway Children's Charities,
our mission
is simple.
help every child we can.
because all children deserve joy.
And hope.
And love.
And if one child is still in need,
Then there's still work to do.
because their future
Is our future.
And there's still so much they can teach us.
Burning Rubber is social. Follow us on Instagram at Instagram.com/Burning Rubber Radio. Now back to more Burning Rubber.
And we're back. It's Burning Rubber. Producer Wayne. And then Ask Our Chef John Dix. And man, I tell you what, John, you just had the perfect idea while we were in between breaks here. Instead of a duck. Instead of a duck, we're going to start using a call of a jackass, and just be like, we're going to have our jackass moment of the week, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
We have too much fun here, Wayne.
Yes, we do. And you know what's funny is those are like the first two maybe air wrenches of the show. Like this laid in, like that's weird for us. But either which way here, we got to get back to some final news of the week before we get into picks in the final lap with the motorsports enthusiast John DeRudris coming up here in a little bit. So there's a bit of a big money incentive coming up, actually, for Joseph Newgarden here for the Indianapolis 500, John. And if Team Penske's Joseph Newgarden can become the first driver since Helio Castroneves to win the Indianapolis 500 back-to-back, with this year's Indy 500, he's going to collect himself an additional, you ready for this one? $440,000.
Wow. Well, Penske needs to do something. They're in trouble at Indy anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. But if Newgarden can win this week, this coming up in 2 weeks' time at Indy in the 500, he'll claim an additional $440,000 from Borg Warner. And that is what Borg Warner's rollover jackpot has increased to since it was last taken by Castroneves in, are you ready for this one, John? 2002.
Wow.
It has been 22 years since a driver has won back-to-back Indianapolis 500s.
Wow, that's incredible. You scared me there, Wayne, when you said jackpot. I thought you were going to say jack something else.
God bless America, John. I love you, but oh man. Speaking of the NTT IndyCar Series here too, as well. Colton Herta of Andretti Global, it's no longer Andretti Autosport, was the biggest mover in this past Saturday's Sancio Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway when he finished 7th after starting 24th. And but the driver of the number 26 Gainbridge Honda sure didn't seem too happy, as he said on the pit wall after climbing out of the car. But he says he can't complain too much because things are slowly getting better.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like a good run to me to go for that. Make that, move that many positions especially in a Formula One car.
IndyCar.
IndyCar.
I was going to say Formula One's just a little bit different. And but yeah, good stuff all the way around for Colton Herta. I mean, a 7th place finish. I mean, nothing to sneeze at. I mean, all things considered, and it's Indianapolis too. Anytime you can finish inside the top 10 at Indy, that's worth talking about.
Yeah. Be happy. Don't be a jackass.
Oh, I love it. And moving on here into the world of IMSA here, and the Super Trofeo weekend this past weekend, the Nico and Kiko show. John, you ever heard of that one?
No, I missed that one, Wayne.
So the Nico and Kiko show kept on rolling this past Sunday at WeatherTech Raceway in Laguna Seca as the Anza Motorsports duo completed a weekend victory sweep of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North American races, and it being Nico Jamin and Kiko Porto that drove the Anza number 4 Lamborghini Broward. See, now this is weird how they have this laid out here. The Lamborghini Broward Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2.
Lord.
Like, try and say that 10 times fast.
Well, I tell you what, I love our buddy Andy to death, but I'm glad he wasn't trying to explain that.
Yeah, no, Andy would have butchered it. Andy would have definitely butchered it. Just saying. Just saying. He would have butchered that so hard it's not even funny.
Yeah, he's going to kill me now, but anyways.
One last bit of news here that we're going to get to real quick before we wrap up for the week, and that being our buddy William Sawalich writes his redemption story at the Nashville Fairgrounds and gets himself a dub this past weekend here. So he lost the General Tire. Wow, I can talk on the radio today, John.
Spit it out, Wayne. Come on, spit it out.
Yeah, right. So Sawalich lost the General Tire pole to rival Gio Ruggiero in qualifying, entered the third ARCA Menard Series East race of the 2024 season, third in points based on his finishes at Florida's Five Flags Speedway and Dover Motor Speedway earlier in the season here. The defending East Series champion shut down that sentiment emphatically at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway that somebody else was going to be the driver to beat. So.
Okay. Well, I don't want to forget our buddy Landon Devon.
No, we got to talk about Landon too. And I remember you saying something about that too, where he got his first ever win this past weekend.
Right. He actually, I believe, if I get it right, he had finished second, and the guy who won got disqualified during inspection.
Oh, wow.
So we gave Landon a good shout-out, burning rubber baby, to him for winning that race. So congratulations, buddy. We're happy for you.
Very good stuff. Congratulations to Landon on getting the first dub, even if it comes via disqualification. Because as they say in racing, a win's a win's a win's a win.
Yeah, he had to be there. I mean...
So, yep, had to be in the right place at the right time, and he certainly was.
Right.
But with that said here, we are done with news of the week, so we're going to head on over into picks now for All-Star Weekend at North Wilkesboro Speedway. God, it feels good to say that once again this year, John. Man, it just the fact that North Wilkesboro is back in running order and running fashion. Just
absolutely,
it brings a smile to everybody's face here in North Carolina, and the folks over at Speedway Motorsports have done one hell of a job getting it back up and running. So kudos to Marcus Smith and formerly Bruton Smith before he passed away here, and just everybody at SMI for the hard work that they put into getting everything ready to go for North Wilkesboro and even Charlotte Motor Speedway coming up here in 2 weeks' time for the trifecta weekend with the culmination of the Coke 600. So
well, Wayne, I always liked the whole week of the two races at Charlotte, but I thought it couldn't get any better, and being at North Wilkesboro just made it better. So I'm happy for all involved.
Right, exactly. And realistically, because North Carolina is the, pretty much the home of everything motorsports related. Realistically, now this is just my personal opinion here. So folks, you can hate it or you can love it or hate it. I really don't care. My personal opinion is if they were going to do it upright, the entire month of May started off with Darlington Throwback Weekend at the beginning of the month. Next week, you go to Rockingham. The week after that, you go to North Wilkesboro. And then, of course, on Memorial Day, as per normal tradition, you cap it off with the Coke 600. I think personally, that would put some butts in seats.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Wayne. That would be that'd be an ideal scenario. And also we got to forget about the teams. They're on the road all the time, and the more they're in that area, they can stay home and sleep in their own beds
and spend time with family.
Right, and it's good for all involved. But I like that idea, Wayne.
Yeah, I've been sitting and kind of thinking about that for a while. Like it would be like you said, like we were agreeing here, the ideal situation, just because of the fact being that teams, especially the crew members that don't get to see their families that often, this gives them that prime opportunity.
I've been on the road with some of them crews, and I'm gonna tell you, back in the day, that week and a half at Daytona for the 500 and the Clash and all that, I tell you what, by Sunday night, halfway through that 500. You were wore out. I know I was wore out a couple times.
Oh, yeah, and you're ready to go home at that point.
Yep.
So, but with that said here, we're going to get on over to picks here for the week. We don't have one for Andy, so we're just going to assume that he wants BJ McLeod, even though we know BJ's not racing the All-Star race. We love you too, BJ. Don't worry, buddy. But who you thinking for the All-Star race this weekend?
Well, I'm pulling for our boy who had the rough last 2 weeks, Christopher Buescher.
All right, and I do believe Chris actually qualifies for the All-Star race because he had his wins last year, so so at that point that'll put him in contention for the All-Star race. Now, of course, we know the format. You have to go through the pre-qualifier and then all that other fun jazz to make the final field. But if I had to pick somebody out of the hat, I'm gonna say, because this one is a non-points paying race, it's not going to count towards our 5 picks for anybody this year, and so that's not going to count towards your 5 for Buescher. I'm gonna say Kyle Larson, just because.
Yeah, well, that's a good pick.
I mean, it's kind of like the default pick, but you know what? It's Larson. I mean, it's North Wilkesboro. He won it last year, so I got a feeling he's going to do it again. I
want to give Andy Bubba Wallace.
Oh God. I mean, we're going to see Bubba wreck anyway, so I guess why not?
Well, Andy's really going to hate me after this show.
Oh, man.
We love you, Sheriff.
Sergeant Sheriff.
There you go.
But with that said here, folks, we have got to get ourselves over. It is that time, John. We always look forward to it now. 2 weeks in a row. Yeah. We're going to sit down now with the motorsports enthusiast, John DeRugeris. It is time for the final lap.
Welcome to the final lap with me, the motorsport enthusiast, and we are going to dive into my best pick for North Wilkesboro this week. Let's recap last week. My best pick of the week was Mr. Brad K. He got it done, got the victory, first win for Ford this year, and his first win in 110 starts. So let's see if we can build off this momentum. I want to know. Let's see if I can go 2-0 this week at North Wilkesboro. This week is going to be a very different race. You're going to have an all-star race. You're going to have drivers that typically aren't in the field with the All-Star Open. You're going to have a lot of beating and banging for that money. Plus, you're going to have 2 different tire compounds that these teams can use throughout the race. With that being said, let's talk about some of the North Wilkesboro analytics from last year, as well as some short track analytics from this year. Let's start with Mr. Kyle Larson. He won last year in the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. He finished 3rd at Richmond and finished 2nd at Martinsville. Let's talk about another Hendrick driver who is very strong at short tracks this year. That's Chase Elliott. With a 5th place finish at Richmond and a 3rd place finish at Martinsville, I think that Chase Elliott could get it done. Also, he came 5th last year in North Wilkesboro as well. Let's look at another driver, this time a Ford. Let's look at Joey Logano. He finished P10 after a loose wheel came out of pit road, which put him all the way back in the field, but he had a top 5 car last year at North Wilkesboro. He finished 2nd at Richmond and 6th at Martinsville, so watch out for Mr. Joey. Let's move on now to a Toyota of Tyler Reddick. He finished 3rd at North Wilkesboro in 2023, 10th at Richmond, and 7th at Martinsville. The last driver I want to look at is Mr. William Byron. Even though he was 1 lap down at North Wilkesboro last year, he was battling up in the top 5. He finished 7th at Richmond and 1 at Martinsville. With that being said, who is my best pick out of those winners? I think any of those guys can win. I'm going to go with the guy who drives a bright yellow car, Joey Logano. He was arguably one of the fastest cars on the track last year at North Wilkesboro. Plus, he's been a part of the tire test that went down back in March alongside William Byron and Ty Gibbs. I think that's going to give him a leg up. I think he has the speed. He's almost won at Richmond. Put Joey Logano in the winner's circle this week. He's going to become an all-star winner this year. Joey Logano is my best pick of the week.
Well, the final lap, you know what, John, he was spot on last week with his pick of Brad K. So I got to wonder if that pick that he just made is going to send him 2 for 2, because if that's the case, I might start putting in some bets on like DraftKings and whatnot. What do you think?
Well, I tell you what, it's a good chance. He picks good and he knows what he's doing, and not like us jackasses on the show, but.
Oh my God! Well, I'll tell you what. With that said, here, speaking of us jackasses, we've got to get ourselves out of here for another week of Burning Rubber on all of our platforms. And for our guest this week, Chad Finchum, and for the NASCAR chef John Dix, I'm producer Wayne. We love you guys. Until next week, Burning Rubber, baby.
Burning Rubber, baby.
Burning Rubber Radio is a production of White Lightning Entertainment with studios in Statesville, North Carolina, and was brought to you by Drive Refine. It's more than driver coaching, it's Drive Refine. Visit driverefine.com to get signed up today. This week's show was produced by Wayne Owens. Remember to visit burningrubberradio.com for news, recipes, and more great content. Burning Rubber Radio can be seen on Rumble, YouTube, or wingding.tv and heard on radio stations nationwide. Any use of the accounts or descriptions contained in this broadcast must be the express written permission of White Lightning Entertainment.